Hello my scrappy friends, a big welcome to my YouTube channel once again. Today it's Melinda Sweetman here with you for Tracy Reed Designs, and it is Sketchy Sunday. Here is the sketch and here is the layout that I have created. You can see I have taken inspiration from the sketch, but it is quite different. I decided to swap out the 3x4 journaling card and the 4x6 photo for this big rainbow. So this is printed on vellum sticker paper, which is what I just showed you. If you watched my video from the other day with the Keep Chasing Rainbows collection, you will recognize this collection. It is the exact same collection. Like I said, it is one of my all-time favorites. So when I printed my butterflies for my planner spread, I had all this extra space on my 8.5 by 11 piece of vellum sticker paper. So I just printed this rainbow, and this is the design I came up with. You can see that I have printed it so it's a bit wonky because I know that I'm going to cover up that left hand side of the rainbow, but I love this watercolor rainbow. It's so fun. You can see I have stuck that to some white cardstock and I burnished that so it just kind of blends into the background. It looks like I've done that myself. And I have also cut wonky lines along the top and the bottom, and I'm going to sticking this to black and doing the same thing. On the sketch it is very straight lines, there's lots of stitching, and I incorporate lots of stitching because I love the texture that it adds. And you can see this is the photo that I am scrapbooking today. I actually took this in December, and it's Tangled Christmas Lights, and down the bottom it says I'm fine, it's all fine, or something to that effect. There is obviously a lot happening in the world right now. There's a lot happening in my personal life at the moment as well. And when I saw that photo, it just sparked some words I wanted to write down about right now. So that's why I chose this photo and why I chose the title that I did. So I have printed this. I did print it in 3 different sizes so that I could work out which size I wanted to get, and I'm going to hand stitch it. As you saw there, I did have that attached to the black, but punching through the printer paper, the sticker paper, the white cardstock and the black cardstock it wasn't hard, but it was very thick. So I've pulled the black off and I'm going to go through and poke all my little holes, and here they are all done. I've just used some removable tape there, and it took me I think maybe an hour. I do end up using a different thread, but here it is. I've done all grey and then rainbow thread for the word rainbow. Create your own rainbow every day, and I love the way that came together. It's so fun. Yeah, so because I've used the grey stitching and I've got the black cardstock, I wanted to bring a bit more black into the main layout, so I'm using some black India ink here that I've watered down a tiny little bit with some water, and I'm just going to splatter that. I found a Ziploc bag on my desk. Who else finds random things like this on their desk? I'm like, that'll be good enough to cover up my stitching. So that's exactly what I've done. I'm just going to add my black splatter and pop this aside to dry. First, I'm going to, I think I stick this down. Yep. What am I doing? I think I'm making sure that it all lines up correctly. I'm just going to trim the tiny little bit off the edge. And I'm good to go with that background now. This is pretty much dry. I'm going to tack that down just a little bit because of the stitching. It is quite dimensional behind there, so I don't use a ton of adhesive, and rather than flip that piece over because some of that back might not be dry, I add the adhesive to the black cardstock. I'm going to pop that on there and then set that aside to dry, like to completely dry, because patience is a virtue and all that. I'm going to work on my photo. I did print 2 of this thinking I would use 2, but then I decided not to, so I'm only going to use the 1. But I did want to pop a black photo mat on it, and it's just a thin little border, which I'm going to trim down, and then I'm going to add a couple of 3x4 journal cards behind for some fun and interest, because I do kind of do them on slight angles. This is not a super formal page or anything. You'll see that I trimmed down that pink one just a tiny bit, and then stick all those together. Actually, I think that I add stitching before I stick them. I'm not sure. I've done a few things in the last few days, so yeah. Pretty happy with how that's looking. So I'm going to stick those together like that. I think after I add stitching, yeah. Happy with that. And so I've added some grey stitching along that wonky line on the white cardstock, and I've also added some stitching to my photo. I've just used grey, and again that's wonky stitching, and here we go. So I knew I wanted to include my journaling, but I wanted it tucked away somewhere. Some of it is fairly personal, so I've got this little glassine bag, came from my stash. I've got about a gazillion of them. It's a nice easy way of adding journaling. It also adds just a little bit of a different texture with that, with the top up there. Happy with how that's looking, so I'm just going to stick all that together. I am going to add a little bit of dimension so that it clears the stitching. And then I'm going to stick this onto the pink and the blue pattern papers, which I have already stuck together. And then I can add that to my layout. I did do the designing of this page in Photoshop Elements as well. Like I think I've mentioned this before, I found that I can get exactly the right size. I can also like only print what I want to use instead of printing full sheets of stickers or anything like that. I don't know if you noticed when I printed that background paper, I only did I think 2.5 inch strips of pattern at the top and the bottom because I knew that's all I needed. So lots of these pieces are from the embellishment kit, and some are stickers. I have hand cut all of these because I couldn't be bothered dealing with my Cameo. So, and they were all fairly easy shapes to cut out, so I've just done those by hand. So I'm gonna, like I said, I did design all of this one in Photoshop, so I had a fairly good idea of where everything was going anyway. I'm just checking placement and size and making sure it's all good. Adding a bit of dimension and texture by curling corners up. I'm going to add some thin cardboard behind some of this as well. I love this little rainbow on the stick. It's so cute. It's just going to get tucked in there as well. I think I'm going to jump forward. That's all stuck down. And then on the sketch, there are the little word strips to the top left and bottom right. So I've got these are the wood grain ones. I decided to bring those in because I've got the wood grain on that little stick on the rainbow. I'm just going to add these layered. So I'm just tucking that slightly underneath the black and then popping the top piece up a little bit and layering that over the top. Again, the lines are not straight on this. That was intentional, just using my magnets to get them to stay in place. I'm going to do the bottom as well. So bloom where you are planted and don't give up your daydreams. I do trim this one down a tiny bit. But here I am just sticking that last little bit down. Happy with how that's all looking. I'm going to curl up corners. Then the last thing that I do is add in some grey enamel dots. This grey matches the grey stitching perfectly, so yay for that. So I think I end up adding 5 to this cluster here, and then 3 to the top and the bottom word bits. I like the extra dimension, the different texture that it gives the page, and because I've kind of bounced them across the page, just gives a bit of extra flow. Enamel dots are fun. I am kind of jealous of the digital girls because they can have literally like millions of whatever colour or design enamel dots, and it doesn't cost them anything more. Yes, and in this collection there are some glitter enamel dots, I think, in the embellishment kit. If they're not glitter, they're still rainbow colour. They're super fun. I love them. But I thought the grey and the black would be a nice contrast to all of the colour. And yes, I did, like I said, while I had this collection out, I couldn't help but play with it some more. I love it. I'm putting 2 dates on this. One is December 2024 and one is April 2025, because that is when the photo was taken and when the journaling was done, and I reference when the photo was taken and also right now. I think that is going to finish off my page. Yep. So that finishes off my page. I do add some journaling lines with a pencil and a T-square ruler, and I add my journaling on there, pop that back in, and that is my page complete. This sketch was super fun. I have completely taken it in a very different direction, but I love what all of the girls have done. Make sure you head over to the blog and have a look. I'm not sure how many of the others have done videos, but check it out. Super fun sketch. And if you have a go, make sure you tag Tracy and myself. I'd love to see what you do. As always, thank you so much for choosing to spend your scrappy time with me. I truly do appreciate it, and I will see you in my next process video.